G'day, omdeaji, Sheshnag Yoga Center. Sheshnag Mandir. Sheshnag.com. What on earth is Kundalini? This video is about attracting our own level of dysfunction. I went somewhere recently and the speaker, who was like, it was some workshop to do with being a better person and understanding myself on a deeper level, he said, oh, we all attract our level of dysfunction. And I thought, hang about, mate, you obviously don't know me, I'm not dysfunctional. How could I attract anyone dysfunctional if I'm not dysfunctional? No, I didn't. I thought, this is very interesting. I thought, oh, okay, what are my dysfunctionalities and how do I create or attract within myself the experience to bring someone who's going to complement and work off of those dysfunctionalities in regards to theirs, so we can bring them to the surface and heal them. And Jesus, not to be blasphemous, but Jesus Christ, mate, I've done a phenomenal job. Because I think there's a lot going on the planet at the moment to do with healing intimacy wounds, healing wounds to do with self-esteem and lack of power, and ancestral wounds and ancestral patterns that have been going for years and generations. I think there's a point where we've come to spiritually where we can be a bit more objective of ourselves and be able to understand the patterns that we run and be able to work in a way that harmonizes those in our expression of everyday life. So there's a couple of things that I'm really dysfunctional with, and I've actually attracted someone who's the opposite of that. One is around food. Like, I can cook, I'm pretty functional, but my food's like not exquisite and flavoursome. It's like survival. And it's in the vein of my mum and her English vein, where it's like oven cooked, and predominantly it was meat and 3 veggies. So because that's what I was programmed with and that's what I express, I brought someone into my life who's like a nourishing queen. She like knows all the flavours, and on her, she's like, instead of the 6 standard sets of taste buds that we have, she's like must have about 60, because she can discern flavours that I don't even have any idea about. So, and let's say environmentally, like, my house is relatively okay. It's a good house, and it's a first world sort of drama that we have around my house, because I live in a house that's pretty plain and I like the plain walls. Whereas she likes ambience and to do with freshness and things like that. I don't think that's a dysfunctionality on her part, but my dysfunctionality brings into my life someone who can make that experience a lot more harmonious for me. When we're talking about dysfunctionality, there's an experience that's happening to do with a massive program that I run around victimization. And victimization has the deep, well-worn pattern to do with falling into the pattern of the, what you call the prey, and having the dynamic, not so much of a symbiotic relationship like lichen. It's more like one eats off the other. The predator eats off the prey. And in my psyche, even though I've been a selfish person in the past, and if you ask a lot of people, then my determination and confidence to get what I want has been quite offensive. So in some ways I've been in the predator experience, but predominantly I fall into the victim psyche to do with feeling like I'm the prey and preyed upon through aggression and dominance. So I brought into my life someone who expresses themselves in a very dominant way, and the controlling nature of her behaviour on a subconscious level has been quite overwhelming. But it's a perfect match for my dysfunctionality. We're both people that like to please each other. She likes to please through the need for survival and control. I like to please so she's happy, and my experience of life is less aggressified because I've had aggression around me a lot of my life. So I'm constantly trying to, in a dysfunctional way, to minimize the aggression so we can have a harmonious experience. But my victimization can be quite aggressive too, so the aggression goes both ways. So there's a dysfunctionality that's just so innately and subconsciously perfectly matched. And in another video I talked about my parents being ones that endorsed freedom. Her parent endorsed compliance. So then my she'll be right attitude is very confrontational to her, because for her everything has to be compliant and in integrity. So both of our dysfunctionalities around compliance and she'll be right are perfectly matched. It's actually quite bizarre. It's a beautiful experience, and then people throw around the comment that opposites attract. And some things are opposite, but sometimes things under it, like our value systems are very similar. But the dysfunctionality from a subconscious level on top of the value systems is quite bizarrely, uniquely matched in a way that's perfect. Yeah? Even the fact that she's run a lot of her life on fear to do with trying to minimize the threat externally through being controlling. And I've got this lack of fear, which is combated by faith, that is not so much around trusting, because the trust issue is different. But there's the faith of, it'll work out in the end, as opposed to the fear that we've got to work it out at the start. So that dysfunctionality is perfect as well. It's really quite beautiful when I sit back and look at it objectively. It's really so amazing that the dynamics of our relationship are so beautiful that we irritate each other in our own dysfunctionality, or the reflection of our opposing dysfunctionality, in a way that makes our dysfunctionality apparent, so we can take ownership of it and work through it, because it's a very awesome time on the planet. There's also one around responsibility and not responsibility. I have this perspective that I'm everywhere all at once and nothing happens by coincidence. And in that I take responsibility for everything that I do, apart from a subconscious neuroses when I flip into emotionality and irrationality and then fall into the pattern of being separate. Whereas she has one to do with not taking responsibility and blaming external causes rather than blaming herself. So it's really beautiful that we come together to set examples around this subject and all of our other things to do with life, where our dysfunctionalities bounce off each other and they're a perfect match because of our inner resonance that we've attracted each other into our lives. Underlying it all in the stillness of being, when we look into each other's eyes and we're in our fullness, we feel nothing but love and appreciation. But life being externalized, like she's got one that is constantly in fight and flight in her nervous system. I've got one that's it's a movement-based nervous system, but it's not in fight and flight. It's pretty calm in the face of trauma. So that fits perfectly together as well. When we can calm our nervous systems down and sit in presence, then we have this love that binds us together in a most beautiful way. Need to be conscious and need to have the space and need to be non-verbal in that, in a way that feeling dominates. So there you go, a video on dysfunctionality and how we attract our own level of dysfunctionality, but maybe it's just in a different way that enhances it or allows us the opportunity to become conscious of it so we can deal with it and then make a harmonious life for ourselves, starting within ourselves. Share the world, sheshnag.com. Peace. Omji. Om Namah Shivaya Hara Hara Mahadev.